Today on Professor Tom's Philosophy in 10, a dramatization of Plato's Crito. Should Socrates escape?
Where? Athens. When? 399 BCE. What? The trial and execution of Socrates. Having lost his case, Socrates was imprisoned to await the day of his execution. Meanwhile, over the next month, his friends visited him daily. They continued to philosophize, discussing life and death, justice and injustice, and how a person should live. But his friends were, at the same time, working to effect Socrates' escape. Several days before the appointed day of his execution, Crito, whom Socrates had known his entire life, came to the prison with a plan for escape. Socrates, as always, was determined to do the right thing, so he and Crito spent the morning considering arguments both for and against escape. Read on to find out what Socrates eventually decided. As he has every day for a month, Crito visits Socrates as he awaits his trial today. Crito brings troubling news.
Crito, you have come early. Why did you sit and say nothing, instead of awakening me at once?
Because I wanted you to be out of pain. I've always thought you happy in the calmness of your temperament, but never did I see the like of the easy, cheerful way in which you bear this calamity.
Why, Crito, when a man has reached my age, he ought not to be repining at the prospect of death. But tell me, why have you come so early?
The ship, Socrates, the ship from Delos. It will arrive today, and therefore tomorrow, Socrates, will be the last day of your life. Why do you look amused when I say this?
Crito, I shall not die tomorrow, but the next. I have had a vision, the likeness of a woman, fair and comely, clothed in white raiment, who called to me.
O Socrates, the third day hence, to Pythia shalt thou go.
Oh, my beloved Socrates, let me entreat you once more to take my advice and escape, for if you die I shall not only lose a friend who can never be replaced, but there is another evil. People who do not know you and me will believe that I might have saved you if I had been willing to give money, but that I did not care. Now, can there be a worse disgrace than this, that I should be thought to value money more than the life of a friend? For the many will not be persuaded that I wanted you to escape, and that you refused.
But why, my dear Crito, should we care about the opinion of the many? Good men, and they are the only persons who are worth considering, will think of these things truly as they happened. You say that the opinion of the many must be regarded, because they can do the very greatest evil to anyone who has lost their good opinion? I only wish, Crito, that they could, for then they could also do the greatest good, and that would be well. But the truth is that they can do neither good nor evil. They cannot make a man wise or make him foolish, and whether they do is the result of chance. No, Crito, money and loss of character are, I fear, only the doctrines of the multitude, who would be as ready to call people to life, if they were able, as they are to put them to death, and with as little reason. Let us now determine whether we shall do rightly, either in escaping or in suffering others to aid in our escape and paying them in money and thanks, or whether we shall not do rightly. And if the latter, then death or any other calamity which may ensue on my remaining here must not be allowed to enter into the calculation. As I said during my trial, I care not a straw for death, Crito. My only fear is the fear of doing an unrighteous or unholy thing. So let us set aside the opinion of the ignorant multitude. Let us instead imagine that the very laws of Athens have come to scold us for even thinking of escape, so contrary to the law?
Socrates, why do you try to overturn us, the laws of Athens?
What shall we say in response, Crito? That I have been unjustly convicted?
You agreed, Socrates, to abide by the sentence of the state. The laws brought you into the world and nurtured and educated you, and gave you and every other citizen a share in every good that we had to give. You could have left at any time. You, Socrates, are bound by the implied contract.
Shall we listen, Crito, to the laws who have brought us up, or to the ignorant views of the multitude?
Think not of life and children first, and of justice afterwards, but of justice first, that you may be justified before the princes of the world below. Now you depart in innocence, a sufferer and not a doer of evil, a victim, not of the laws, but of men. But if you go forth, returning evil for evil, and injury for injury, breaking the covenants and agreements which you have made with us, and wronging those whom you ought least to wrong, that is to say, yourself, your friends, your country, and us, we shall be angry with you while you live, and our brethren, the laws in the world below, will receive you as an enemy, for they will know that you have done your best to destroy us. Listen, then, to us, the laws of Athens, and not to Crito, and you shall be welcome in the Elysian fields.
This, Crito, is the voice of the laws, which I seem to hear murmuring in my ears, like the sound of the flute in the ears of the mystic. I know that anything more which you will say will be in vain, yet speak if you have anything to say. Nothing? Then let me follow the intimations of the will of God, Crito.
The actual circumstances of Socrates' execution are narrated in Plato's dialogue called the Phaedo. The narrator of this dialogue is Phaedo of Elis, one of Socrates' followers. The dialogue focuses on the immortality of the soul. At the very end of the dialogue, Socrates' last moments are described. Here it might be best to simply quote from Plato's dialogue. Now the hour of sunset was near, for a good deal of time had passed while Socrates was within. When he came out, he sat down with us again after his bath, but not much was said. Soon the jailer, who was the servant of the 11, entered and stood by him, saying, "To you, Socrates, whom I know to be the noblest and gentlest and best of all who ever came to this place, I will not impute the angry feelings of other men who rage and swear at me, when, in obedience to the authorities, I bid them drink the poison. Indeed, I am sure that you will not be angry with me, for others, as you are aware, and not I, are to blame. And so fare you well, and try to bear lightly what must needs be. You know my errand." Then bursting into tears, he turned away and went out. Socrates looked at him and said,
"I return your good wishes, and will do as you bid."
Then turning to us, he said,
"How charming the man is! Since I have been in prison, he has always been coming to see me, and at times he would talk to me, and was as good to me as could be. And now see how generously he sorrows on my account. We must do as he says, Crito, and therefore let the cup be brought if the poison is prepared. If not, let the attendant prepare some."
"Yet," said Crito, "the sun is still upon the hilltops, and I know that many a one has taken the draught late, and after the announcement has been made to him, he has eaten and drunk, and enjoyed the society of his beloved. Do not hurry, there is time enough." Socrates said,
"Yes, Crito, and they of whom you speak are right in so acting, for they think that they will be gainers by the delay. But I am right in not following their example, for I do not think that I should gain anything by drinking the poison a little later. I should only be ridiculous in my own eyes for sparing and saving a life which is already forfeit. Please then to do as I say, and not to refuse me."
Crito made a sign to the servant, who was standing by, and he went out, and having been absent for some time, returned with the jailer carrying the cup of poison. Socrates said,
"You, my good friend, who are experienced in these matters, shall give me directions how I am to proceed."
The man answered, "You've only to walk about until your legs are heavy, and then to lie down, and the poison will act." At the same time he handed the cup to Socrates, who in the easiest and gentlest manner, without the least fear or change of color or feature, looking at the man with all his eyes, as his manner was, took the cup and said,
"What do you say about making a libation out of this cup to any god? May I or not?"
The man answered, "We only prepare, Socrates, just so much as we deem enough."
"I understand,"
he said.
"But I may and must ask the gods to prosper my journey from this to the other world, even so, and to be it according to my prayer."
Then raising the cup to his lips, quite readily and cheerfully he drank of the poison. And hitherto most of us had been able to control our sorrow, but now when we saw him drinking, and saw too that he had finished the draught, we could no longer forbear, and in spite of myself, my own tears were flowing fast, so that I covered my face and wept, not for him, but at the thought of my own calamity in having to part from such a friend. Nor was I the first, for Crito, when he found himself unable to restrain his tears, had got up, and I followed, and at that moment, Apollodorus, who had been weeping all the time, broke out in a loud and passionate cry, which made cowards of us all. Socrates alone retained his calmness.
"What is the strange outcry?"
he said.
"I sent away the woman mainly in order that they might not misbehave in this way, for I have been told that a man should die in peace. Be quiet then, and have patience."
When we heard his words, we were ashamed, and refrained our tears, and he walked about until, as he said, his legs began to fail, and then he lay on his back, according to the directions, and the man who gave him the poison now and then looked at his feet and legs, and after a while he pressed his foot hard, and asked him if he could feel, and he said,
"No,"
and then his leg, and so upwards, and showed us that he was cold and stiff, and he felt them himself, and said,
"When the poison reaches the heart, that will be the end."
He was beginning to grow cold about the groin, when he uncovered his face, for he had covered himself up, and said, they were his last words. He said,
"Crito, I owe a cock to Asclepius. Will you remember to pay the debt?"
"The debt shall be paid," said Crito. "Is there anything else?"
There was no answer to this question, but in a minute or two a movement was heard, and the attendant uncovered him. His eyes were set, and Crito closed his eyes and mouth. Such was the end, Echecrates, of our friend, concerning whom I may truly say that of all the men of his time whom I have known, he was the wisest and justest and best.